Welcome back, everyone. While many of my videos present a proposition to you in the form of direct statements, this video raises a question, but it's not really a question that needs an answer. It's more of a rhetorical question that's kind of fun to ponder. Here it is. Why do Islamists keep getting spanked? The word Islamist in this context refers to anyone who wants to impose Islamic values on others, particularly by force, or to advance the agenda of radical Islam. While I'm thinking more about current events, this question has to be posed against the backdrop of the 20th century, which saw a substantial decline across the Islamic world in a variety of areas. For example, Muslim-majority countries seem to have developed a life hack for being on the losing side of virtually every war. This is especially significant in a religion like Islam, whose founder and his celebrated companions were hell-bent on jihad, and winning or losing was seen as a sign of Allah's favor or disfavor. So in a militant ideology like Islam, a good spanking can have theological overtones, and it stings just a little bit more when the spanking comes so frequently from, those Zionists. These three prominent examples come within about a year of Israel being awakened from its slumber on October 7th. They are, of course, Yahya Sinwar, Hassan Nasrallah, and Ismail Haniyeh. These men existed in a gray area, where many Islamists do. Are they human? Are they beasts? It's hard to tell. One thing can be certain. They would be greeted with open arms in a BBC newsroom or the Columbia University campus, if they were still alive. Sometime before his death, Ismail Haniyeh laid the Hamas agenda bare for virtually all of Western media to ignore when he called for the blood of women, children, and the elderly of Gaza to awaken the revolution. Did he fail to mention his own blood accidentally or on purpose? I guess we'll never know. The next humiliating spanking came in September of 2024. Yes, I'm referring to Operation Grim Beeper. Israel's enemies purchased exploding communication equipment from Israel. The distrust and absolute shame that this must have produced among the party of Allah is truly wonderful to contemplate. More recently, targeted strikes in Iran eliminated numerous generals, including the head of the Revolutionary Guard and other top commanders and nuclear scientists. During the funeral parade, familiar chants were heard, "Death to America, death to Israel," illustrating well the reason these strikes were necessary. In some cases, top commanders were killed, requiring the naming of a successor, who was also killed in short order. If any Islamists watching this have any military expertise, I hear that Iran is hiring. The pay is probably pretty good, but life expectancy is short. And your opponents include Mossad. In recent weeks, of course, the Great Satan dropped some devilishly large bombs on Iran's nuclear sites, making the "Death to America, death to Israel" chants ring even more hollow. But the Islamists, for their part, have also eliminated high-ranking Israelis. Examples from as far back as October 7th include Vivian Silver, a dedicated peace activist who worked closely with Gazans, and about a year ago, Hezbollah killed about a dozen children playing soccer, while Iran's most recent strikes have targeted sick and elderly in hospitals and just about whoever they happen to hit in residential areas when they randomly fire their missiles. Try as they might, so-called pro-Palestinian protesters could not find any IDF soldiers using these civilians as human shields. Additionally, no IDF operations centers have been located in the hospitals or synagogues that were targeted. But when it's all said and done, Iran might be killing more of its own people compared to their latest attacks, since the executions have started, as the Islamic Republic begins eating itself from within. Given all of this, here are just a few things for your consideration. Will the spankings continue? I think so. The prospering of Islamists seems more dependent on Western leadership than the power of the great God Allah. U.S. presidents in the recent past have adopted a kinder, gentler approach to the Islamic Republic and the various terrorist networks it supports. With this recent show of force, we may look for an expansion of perhaps the Abraham Accords and further isolating the extremists. Second, Israel's ability to take out high-level commanders from various terror networks, who aren't exactly easy to find, demands an explanation. And I propose that such an explanation lies in this commonly cited hadith by mostly peaceful imams and mosques all across the world. You know it, the day will come when rocks and trees cry out, "O Muslim, there is a Jew behind me, come and kill him." After much consideration, I believe that this hadith has been greatly misconstrued. We simply need to realize that Muhammad most likely said this part backwards. He meant to say it was the Muslims hiding from the Jews, not the other way around. That's a simple enough mistake to make. Second, the rocks and trees are metaphorical. They represent Mossad, Israeli intelligence, which has infiltrated deep into enemy ground, completely undetected. Rightly understood, this hadith foretells a time when Israeli intelligence, existing undetected in Muslim territory, gives the location of key leaders to the IDF, who then executes a precise, deadly strike. If all of this is correct, then I must reluctantly admit that Muhammad got a prophecy right. And finally, can we expect a new apologetic? I've cited this fascinating article before by Dr. Muhammad Khalil. He says at the beginning of the 20th century, the Muslim world was suffering from setbacks on the cultural, intellectual, scientific, and military levels. Most of the Muslim world had been colonized by European countries, and Muslim populations had a strong feeling of religious identity crisis. The scientific and technological advances of the victorious European nations on the one hand, and the backwardness of life in the Muslim world on the other hand, raised questions about Islam and its incompatibility with modern science. In this context, Muslim authors invoked references to human embryology in the Quran and Sunnah, not only to confirm the oneness of God, as earlier works did, but also to prove the truthfulness of Islam and the Quran, its divine origin, and its compatibility with modern biomedical sciences. And we know the end result of all of this, oh yes, the scientific miracles of Islam, that ridiculous apologetic that flourished for years before finally being debunked and abandoned by even the least intelligent, most dedicated Dawagandists. One wonders if these spankings will produce another identity crisis and produce a new apologetic. Wouldn't that be thrilling? Perhaps one that explains why the God these Islamists rely on to strengthen their jihad seems weaker and weaker and weaker these days. Let me know what you think of all of this in the comments section. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.